Okay, I guess we'll get started. So, welcome everyone, thanks for joining us for the Fire and Ice tutorial. We've got Infinite Mystery and Everhate here today, who are going to guide us through this game. How you guys doing?
No complaints outside of being up for 36 hours.
That's fine, being up for 36 hours. Sure.
I've got all kinds of complaints, none of which are relevant.
We'll have a section at the end of this tutorial just for your complaints, actually. Cool. Well, thank you guys for being here. And I'm Fiesel. I'm also here. I'm going to be the not an expert at Fire and Ice, but I'll be trying to learn these levels as these two teach us. So let's see. This is part of our tutorial series for the Big 20 race. We got 20 games to learn before May 2nd, which is when that race happens. So make sure you check out the bestofnest.com website with links to the games, the ROMs for the games, the rules, and all the resources for these tutorials and the other tutorials that people have put together. And we also have Mythical with us here tonight. I think. He's here.
Sorry.
Oh.
I'm fumbling for the unmute button.
The unmute button.
I'm not going to be talking. I'm mostly going to be in chat, taking questions and passing them to you guys.
Alright, but he's there to help us out, reading chat questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat.
Guess we can get started.
Okay.
So Fire and Ice, the goal for this race is to beat World 3. So that's a total of 30 levels. It'll be fairly easy to learn because it's a very simple game mechanically. It's basically a one-button game, and there are 0 occurrences of randomness throughout the entire game. And in this goal, there's only 1 instance of moving enemies. So basically, it's a matter of just learn the strategies that you're going to use and execute those, and it'll be exactly the same every time. As far as the controls, like I said, they're easy. Left and right move you left and right, or turn you around if you're facing the other direction. Up and down do nothing. Select does nothing. Star is used to skip cutscenes or open the menu so you can retry a level if you get stuck or make a mistake or whatever. And then A and B just have the same function. They'll create or delete an ice block 1 row below you in the direction that you're facing, which sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. Once you get used to playing, it all makes sense rather quickly. And for as easy as the mechanics are, you get some interesting depth to the game. But you want to play the levels in order as part of the goal. So just starting out, you go to the beginning, hit A on the world map. You can move around to any of the worlds that you want to if you wanted to for practice. But World 1, it'll take you to the bottom area, again, 1 through 9, and then the 10th level world when you beat those. So you're going straight into World 1, and it'll load into an area. Now the goal in each of the levels is to get rid of all the fire on the stage. You can do that in one of 2 ways, typically speaking. You can either push blocks into it, as you'll see with this this first stage is set up to just push the blocks. The other way is to drop ice onto them. So this first stage, really simple. You just follow the linear path, push a block to the left, jump down, push the blocks to the right. And this is mostly just a tutorial level. And that'll let you see things like blocks will fall when you push other blocks from beneath them. Same thing with flames, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, the first level looks like it's just a matter of showing you that you can push ice into flames, because there's really nothing else to do in it.
Yeah. You move on to level 2, it'll show you mechanic of jumping up ledges, and that's really about all that it does. Some other things with the way the ice falls. But again, it's a really simple stage. You're going to push this first block to the right, then you're going to jump up on the ledge, drop down. Again, this is automatic, just left and right. There's no up or down or anything. Then you push blocks on the right into those flames until you're down to just the 1 flame left. Walk left to drop the last remaining ice ledge onto them, and that'll complete the level. So again, especially these first couple of levels are just kind of showing you the physics, how the ice works, how the flames work, all that kind of stuff. On to 1-3 is the first time you get the opportunity to create meaningful ice. We're not going to need to, because you're just going to push the 2 blocks into the flame, push the other blocks so you can hop up, and then you get, okay, well this block is at the top, push it down, and just follow it and kick to the right. They will get more interesting.
Right. Just showing you the game mechanics is the point
Yeah.
of these levels, I guess.
Most of World 1 is like that. Same thing on 1-4. You just kick out the 2 blocks you have the opportunity to. And walk into one of the spaces left behind.
Okay.
1-5 is the first time you have to actually create ice blocks. So the first thing is to jump up onto this ledge on the right side. And when you're facing left, you'll create ice to the left. When you're facing the right, you'll create ice to the right, which you can't do here because of the wall. So you create blocks so you can get over and push the blocks together. Now, if you've noticed up to this point, any single ice block by itself, if you run into it, will push and it'll slide until it collides with an object or drops off the ledge. When you have 2 of them next to each other, that makes a platform that you can't push, so you can jump up onto it instead. That'll be useful later on. It's also worth noting how the ice functions. If you create an ice block that is next to another object, whether that's a wall or another ice block or whatever, it'll become stuck to that. But if you create one that is basically free of any wall, and then you delete the ones that are connected, that's how you get a single block. That'll become rather apparent. It's just something that I thought I would address because I've seen some people not know how exactly creating blocks work. Anyway, you've created your ledge, jump up, and then we've got this conveniently placed ice block above the flame. So you just take it out, again the same action button. That'll fall down, crush the flame, and we're on to 1-6.
All right. So when you use your wand, it's always hitting the ice like down 1 square and left 1 square from where you're standing, or down 1 and right 1 from where you're standing.
Right. It's down in whichever direction you're facing.
Yeah.
And you cannot create ice where there are walls or floors, or where there's fire. So you can't create ice directly on it to delete a fire.
Is there anything about the movement that can be sped up in any way? Are there any tricks for, doing anything faster as far as the movement, or is it all just learn the pattern for the level and do it?
That ends up being the same thing.
Learning the pattern.
Okay.
You can buffer your inputs in most circumstances, so you can like buffer creating ice block as you're jumping up or falling down or whatever. And then the optimization comes from not having changes in Dana's animation, because whenever you jump up, there's an extra animation for it, or when you go through an area where you have to duck, there's an extra animation for it.
Okay, so avoiding unnecessary jumping up or ducking under things is important.
Yeah, turning around also takes a little bit of time, but it's normally built into the puzzles that you have to use it so much.
Yeah, that's true. It does take a moment for your character to turn around. All right.
Alright, so 1-6. Have to immediately delete this ice block because that's the only way we're getting out. And after that, it functions kind of like the previous level. You're going to push one of those blocks over to create a platform, and then you have a choice. You can either jump down and push the other one to the wall, which takes a little bit of animation time, or you can create 2 blocks to make that a solid ice floor so you can walk over. It's a little bit faster to create the extra blocks than it is to jump down, so that's what we're going to use. And then we'll push the block over, drop it onto the flame, and then get the big combo finish as you delete the block on the left and everything falls on the flames.
Okay, so this block here, you can see that there's like a frosty bit where it's fused to the wall, and where on the left side, but the right side doesn't have that fused frosty bit. So that's how you can tell that that's the block that's holding that whole ice block in place.
If you have one that has that where it's fused to the wall, if you delete the ones around it, it'll stay fused, so it won't make a block that will move around. Whereas if it has kind of rounded edges to it, then if you delete the ones around it, you'll be able to move it around.
Okay.
1-7. This is the first one with kind of some more interesting decision points, because if you just blindly go through it, you'll actually get stuck in this level. We don't have many options to start out with, so the best of those is to push this ice block to the left. That'll drop it down right beside that flame. Now, of course, you have to find a way to get to the flame. The best way is to delete the one just to the right of that one that we pushed, so that we have the one block sitting by the flame, and then just push over to kill the flame.
Okay.
Then you want to delete this one that stopped you from coming down below. This is a minor thing. You can do this in either order, but it's better to do it now. Then jump back up and make a block that you can push. You don't have to create any extra ice at this point. You just have to delete the one that's 2 spaces from the wall and then push over to the left and it'll fall down. Then you chase that block down, push it to the right. That'll get rid of the far right flame. And then you have this dance where you create an ice block so you can get over to the far right. That's going to block you from creating ice where you need it to. So after that, you jump back up, delete the one you made, and create one in that space on top of the 3 flames. Like there's the 3 in the 4th corner is where you create the block.
I see.
Then you can remove the one that's attached to the wall. That'll drop on top, killing 1 flame. Repeat the process 2 more times. That'll get you 2 free ice blocks next to those 2 flames.
All right, do it twice before you push anything while you're up here. Make 2 more.
If you don't have both of those ice blocks there and you jump down, you won't be able to kill both flames.
Okay, if you are stuck in this game, what do you do?
If you're stuck, you hit start. That'll bring up 2 options: try again or new game. New game will take you to the world map. Try again will reload the stage that you're on. So you just hit A and go try again.
If you do new game, does that destroy your progress, or does it just take you back to the overworld?
It just takes you back to the overworld.
Okay. So don't be afraid of that name.
Like if you're playing the game casually and you got completely stuck on a level and just wanted to move on for a while, you could do that.
Okay.
Alright. And I restarted it, so let's get back to that point.
Alright, so yeah, this is the first level that's not immediately obvious how to complete.
Yeah, it's dropping that 1 ice block down to deal with the far right flame is the only thing to it. Alright. 1-8. Here's where you get in kind of the push mechanics. If you make a block and just push it over this area where you start, it'll drop down into it. So you want to jump up to the left, create 2 ice blocks to make that a solid floor. That way we can do 1 pushing motion and get it all the way to the flame. Then you have to push this block into the wall, because that's the only way that you're going to get a block free to be able to do anything with it. So create 1 next to it, and then delete the one that's against the wall, and that'll leave you standing on top of a mobile ice block. Then you can jump down to the left, push across to destroy that flame.
Okay.
Then just delete the ice block that was underneath that flame, drop down. And then you have a couple of options for the way that you do this. They end up being about the same amount of time. So the way I prefer is I take a step to the left, so I'm standing directly above that far right flame, and delete this ice block that is above the other 2. That'll drop this whole thing down, killing all of those flames. And then I just jump up, delete the one next to the wall. And that'll give me a mobile ice block away from the wall, and just push it over to the left.
Okay.
You can do some other things with like creating an extra ice block so the whole thing doesn't fall, but that's the way that I prefer to do it. It's the least creations and deletions of ice.
Okay, there's the optimal route. That's good. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of time savings from execution really once you know these puzzles, but knowing that when there are different small variations on how to do the puzzles, how you can save yourself a few extra steps is really going to be the only optimization that you can do. So I guess it makes a difference, to pay attention to the proper route and not just kind of guess the best way to do these puzzles.
Yeah, and there's some testing to it. You also have like the end game timer, which isn't really accurate to real time because it stops and starts when certain actions cause the timer to freeze. But anyway, it's there. So 1-9 is, I think it's just a level that's designed to look cool when things get done. The first thing you're going to do is turn to the left and delete the ice block against the wall, because as you see that ice bridge, when it collapses, will kill all but the far left and the far right. So I want to take care of the one on the far right. Push this ice block to the wall and follow it up. You have to create 2 in order to get 1 free and still leave yourself something to jump up onto. So you create 2 blocks, delete one, so delete the one in the middle. That way you have one that you can push to the left, the other one's still against the wall. Push that over to kill the far left flame. then drop the ice bridge down. You can do this last part a couple of different ways. This one ends up being the best. This leaves you with one flame. So you jump up and do the same thing you would do otherwise, where you create a block to the left and then delete the one on the right so you're standing on top of it. And push over to the left.
Could you also just create 2 more ice blocks and then
You could
make
create 2, yeah.
the one in
You
the
have
middle
an extra
disappear?
block that's created in exchange for the change in animation when he's dropping down. It makes very little difference.
Okay. Well, I would go with what you think because that's probably the faster way.
Yeah, you can also you could create that extra block before you drop the bridge down. It would do them all at once. Like the bridge would drop, another block would drop down on top of the ice. That's actually slightly slower, even though it looks cool, because it freezes. The one mobile block at the top freezes in the air and waits for everything else to drop. It's kind of weird. All right, on to 110. Whenever you beat 9 levels, it gives this little animation. The 10th level opens up, which is represented by the castle. You enter it, and it'll start a cutscene. You can press start at any point in that to skip it. Kind of interesting cutscenes, but they're skippable. So this is the first timed level. What'll happen is the fire is going to come up from the bottom every few seconds. So these are pretty easy flames to deal with. Start out, we'll create a block to the right and one to the left. We want to create the block to the right as we come in because you start out facing to the right. So that's an extremely small change. Then you jump up and create 2 to the left. So you have a block that's free. You can delete the one on the right to be able to jump down and kick into the flame. Stair step your way up. You go to the right and then back up to the left. Create 2 ice blocks here at the top. And then again, it's the same story of there'll be a whole lot of moments of create 2 blocks, then delete the one closest to the wall so you get a block that's free. And just jump down and push into it. And again, the cutscene after the boss level is also skippable. And every time you beat one of those boss stages, it'll take you to this, continue story screen. Very self-explanatory. Continue the story. Hooray.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, on to World 2. 2-1 is sneaky tricky. It's pretty easy to lose time just by doing things in the wrong order, and the right order is not necessarily obvious. What you want to do immediately is push the block that you're standing next to the right to kill that flame. You're then going to come to this left edge, create 2 ice blocks, and go ahead and drop it down onto that flame that's there. You'd think it would be better to delay that, but it's actually not. Because you'll then recreate the 2 and use the blocks as they exist to jump up. And the reason that it's better to kill that one first is because it saves time on the way down. And you have to take those steps anyway. This saves a couple of steps. So after you've killed that one on the top, you come back to the left. You basically hold left until you hit the right wall. Turn around, delete the ice block, and then you're left on this platform where you have the 2 next to each other that you made. Delete the one on the right and you'll fall down along with the mobile ice block. Then you just drop left and kick it to the right. So killing that second flame early on is actually slightly faster than the other method because of the time it saves on dropping down and being able to ride that ice block on the way down. Otherwise, you have to basically do that anyway, but you have to come at it from having gone to the top. So it saves a couple of steps. All right, 2-2. Pretty linear level. Create a block, so you make a bridge, push a block into the flame because that's your only move. Then jump up on these 2. Delete the one on the right slightly faster because ice moves faster than Dana does. So you delete the one on the right and then jump to the left and push the one that's left down. And follow it. Then the rest is just stair step your way up. You want to kill these 3 flames all at once by creating ice all the way over the top of them. So basically all but that far left one, and then you delete the one on the right and it'll drop all 3 ice blocks down and kill them all in one shot.
Is it okay if you're standing on the ice when it falls, or do you want to not be on it?
Yeah, you're fine. As soon as all of the fire is dead in the level immediately completes. So even if you were in a spot where you were going to die, which isn't in this case, but is the case in some later on, as long as you kill all the flames, it'll stop you in the air and you'll finish the level.
Okay, yeah, it cuts off his falling animation as soon as the flames are gone, so it doesn't matter if you're standing on it. Okay.
Yep. Even if you're dropping onto like a torch or some other damage type of thing. 2-3 is just about the order that you do things. You gotta push the block immediately to the right, jump up and kill that flame on the right.
Okay.
Then you come back down, and there are a couple of different ways to do this part. The best way is to create ice as far as you can to the left, then delete the one that'll leave you a block that you can push into that other flame. Because it's slightly faster to create and delete ice than it is to have the jump down, push one over from a farther distance. So you push that one into it, and then jump back up and create 3 more ice blocks. Again, slightly faster than creating another block that you can push to the left and jump up. Then you follow all the way up into the corner, delete the block on the right, and ride the one on the left down. That'll kill the flame, so you'll be safe. And then just push the block to the right once you're at the bottom.
Wow.
2-4 is a level for a little bit of optimizations, very small things. So you start out noticing you have to get up to the left. So we're going to turn to the left, create a block, and then delete the one that's on the right. Going to the right instead of the left to do that so you don't duck and then stand back up. You can go into one tile gaps, but it changes your animation.
Oh, I see. If I were to walk to the left, it would take a moment for me to squish down, so that's wasted time. So that's why we walk to the right. Okay, got it.
Right. Your motion is stopped while you're doing that, and you have to change direction the same number of times either way.
Okay.
So you're going to push that block all the way to the left, jump up twice. That's going to put you right next to the flame. It's a little bit better to do that than to create a single block to the left for reasons that will happen later. You're going to create 2 to the right, so you've got a solid floor, and then go all the way to the right. Then we're going to stair step up. And on the second stair, you're going to create an extra ice block to the left. This is one of those small optimizations that ends up being very slightly faster. Then you jump up and push the block on the next level all the way to the left. Jump back down and delete the block on the right of those 2 you created. Then you jump down and push it over. The other option would have been, let's reload the stage and I'll just kind of show what that would be. So as you're stair stepping up on the right side instead, what you would do is create 2 blocks the first time and go ahead and get rid of the flame that's on the right. This is almost the same, but ends up being slightly slower because of increased travel time on the block. It is the more simple solution. So if you're just looking for simple, most of these, if they're alternate solutions, they're close enough in time that you can go whichever one makes more sense in your brain and clicks better. All right. Floor 2-5 is all about your first action. First thing you do as you come into the level is immediately just hit A and delete a block, and that'll set you up to finish the rest of the level. You jump up to the left and create an ice block so you can jump above, because you're going to push that block that you just freed from the right side to kill the flame on the left. You just follow it around. Once you're here, standing on top of this pedestal down there, it's fairly easy to create blocks to push into the one on the right. Then you can repeat that process for the one on the left. You get this. So let me go back and read that. Back on the same spot, you create 2, delete the one on the left so you're standing on top of the ice block. Jump down to the right so you push it over. Then you've got a free block right above that flame, and you can just delete the ice from underneath it. Again, there are 3 or 4 different ways you can do that in the section. That just ends up being the best. 2-6, pretty straightforward. You only have basically one way that you can kill these. There are some alternatives, but they're strictly worse. So you start out by pushing to the right and jump up, create a platform to the left. That way you have a way up. And kill this first flame from the left side as you would with any other one. Create 2 blocks, delete the one on the left, jump down and push. Start jumping up. And then you create a floor here so that you can get up beside that other flame. Otherwise you don't have any way to get up. Kind of illustrate. You can actually jump up there while that fire is there, but it'll kill you. So you don't want to do that. So you create a block from the left side to push over next to it and use that same process again. It's basically the same action done twice in this level. And you jump up and you find yourself here at the top with a conspicuously placed ice block. Same as you would expect, create one to the right of it, delete the one on the left so you're standing on top of your free block, and then just jump down and push.
So I got a question about the beginning of this level. Let me see. You start by pushing this block to the right, and then what is it? Then you're creating 2 ice blocks and then making the left of the 2 ice blocks disappear, and then pushing it to the right. So I mean, you see where I'm at right now on my screen?
Yep.
Is it faster for me to walk to the right, make it disappear, and then push to the left? Or, I mean, then push it to the right? Or should I walk to the left and make it disappear?
It's faster to walk to the right because you stay ducking. And then your duck and your fall animation will be removed basically at the same time. I may not have done that because I'm not always paying attention.
Yeah, I think you did. I thought you did the opposite, and that's what I was going to ask. So, yeah, I actually don't want to step out of this gap because then me unsquishing is wasting time. Okay, so going to the right, make that disappear, and then drop down. Alright, just checking.
I often do little stupid mistakes like that if we're not paying too close attention. So 2-7 is a level where you're presented with options, but there aren't actually options. You start out facing to the right, so the first thing you want to do is create an ice block, then move all the way to the right and delete that ice block that you can, so that the one drops down. We only do this first because we start the level facing to the right. Alright. Then you walk left just before you fall off of, or until just before you fall off this ledge, so standing above and create ice. Create 2, and delete, so you have a free block standing basically between those sheets of ice, and push that all the way to the left. That'll give you a way to get up. Now as you're following that across to the left, you want to delete this one that's below from the left side. That'll save some motions later. And jump up, delete the ice block so that flame falls along with the other free ice block. And then as you expect, you jump down, delete the one on the left, and push into the flame on the right. Or push it to the right into that flame.
Okay.
So then we're set up for the rest of the level. Go back up to where you started and delete the ice block you first made, and then follow it down. Push over and you have this setup where there are 2 free ice blocks. You just delete and recreate, and then push. If you started the level facing to the left, you would actually do the stuff on the left first and then the stuff on the right. It's just because you start facing to the right that you do it that way. Right. On to 2-8. It looks extremely simple, but it's pretty easy to get yourself stuck. You're gonna walk all the way to above this ice block that already exists to your right, create 1, and then stand on that new one that you created, turn to the left, and delete the one on the left. It's going to drop an ice block down with you standing on top of it. And then you create 2 blocks, one to the left, one to the right. Delete the one that you dropped down on, and push into the flame. That gives you the ability to get back up. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to get stuck down there. If you do the one on the left first, you get stuck. If you do on the right without leaving yourself that way out, you also get stuck. So then you just create these 2 to get all the way across, and the rest is really simple. Delete the ice and then jump down to the left. The game does a lot of leaving you in the final position be stuck, so you have to figure out what order you have to kill the flames in.
I see. Yeah, yeah. There's usually one flame that you can't get out of once you've gone down to it, so you have to know which one to do last. And here we have Infinite Mystery showing off what happens if you don't have your escape block.
Yep. Yeah, that's where in these early levels, that's basically what it comes down to, is the order that you do the flames. Some of the later ones you get order plus other mechanics, but that's where most of the complexity up through World 3 comes from. And again, at any time, if you do make a mistake, you just hit start, try again, and it starts you out from the stage as it began. So on 2-9, again, you come in with only one option. You're going to create a block of ice to the right because that's what you can do. Jump up onto the new pedestal. You can create a block once you're up there or not. It actually doesn't matter. So I'm going to suggest not because it's less to remember. You just create 2 to the left so you can take care of that guy on the left. So you didn't delete the one on the right, so you're standing on top of the block. Again, as you would expect. Push over above the flame and delete the ice. Here's another place where you can definitely get stuck. When you're dealing with this first flame on the right side, you have to create 2 blocks of ice before you jump down. So you're going to have the flame, and then just one tile to the left of it, you'll have 2 stacked blocks. What that'll do is when you jump down and you push a block into the flame, it's going to delete the ice block. It's going to consume it when the flame dies. So you need to have some way to create another block to deal with the things below. So you jump down and push both. That'll give you 1 against the wall, and the flame will be gone. And then once you move to 1 tile to the right, you can delete the ice that's down below you that stops you from getting down. Jump up as you would expect, create 1 to the left, and then remove the 1 to the right, then jump to the right and push. And fall down. Now these last 2 can be a little bit tricky. You're going to start by making 1 ice block and then jumping down to this lower level. You've got this 1 single block just standing there. We need 1 to the left so that we'll be able to do the push onto the flame. So you create that, jump back up, and create your mobile block. Push to the left. And then from this point, it is slightly faster to turn around and delete this left ice block, then jump down, than it is to go ahead and go to the right and then move all the way across. Even though you do have the extra ducking animation. You have to follow the same distance either way, and turning around is slightly faster than those extra tiles that you would need.
Okay.
And 210. 210 is probably, just from an execution standpoint, probably the trickiest, because the boss levels tend to be on some type of timer or have some other gimmick. And this one, the flames are moving. They will always have the same pattern. They'll always start in the same place. And if you notice, they're moving left and right in sequence. So like all of them will hit the left side of their path at the same time. All of them will hit the right side of the path at the same time, which is kind of important. So first thing we're going to do is step down here to the right onto this block of ice that's conveniently placed. Create a nice block to the left. Create 1 on the far right end of it that we'll use in just a moment. So you just wait for this top flame to be in the middle of its path, and then drop an ice block on it. And if you notice, when you drop that block, all of the flames on the screen will freeze. While ice is being pushed or is being dropped, if there are any moving enemies, they'll get frozen. So that makes it, you can't anticipate when to drop onto them. You have to drop when they're directly in line with it. But once you get used to that, it's pretty easy to hit them. All right. So from that point, you create 2 again to the left, and then turn around. Now you've got a kind of a combination. You've got 2 on the left, then 1 that's holding you up above this tile, and then the 1 on the right. What we're going to do is delete the 1 that's above the block when this flame on the right, the middle right one, is on the far right of its path. That'll drop the right block down and kill it, and it'll drop these other 2 down while you're riding on top of them. So, like that. Okay, that leaves you in this state. Here you'll create a block to the left and stand on top of it. So if you notice again, I've got 2 ice blocks and then 1 that's holding both of them together. I just wait for both these to get to the right side of their path and delete the middle block. I'll ride this down, but I'll get stopped while I'm following, and it'll kill both of those because they're both on the right side at the same time.
Okay.
me see. I think I've got, yeah, stay low there. So I can show like in motion from the beginning of it.
Alright. I'm pretty sure that when I did this level for the first time, it was not nearly this efficient. So I'd say there's lots of ways you could do this, but...
Oh yeah, there are a bunch of ways to do it. This one just ends up being the fastest.
Yeah.
There's an alternate that I used to do where I killed the one on the far left first. That's a couple seconds slower because you'd have to wait on the cycle. Anyway.
So yeah, we are... This is the first time I guess we've had to deal with something that's on a fixed timer. I mean, I guess the previous boss fight was... It also had a timer because the screen was moving up, but this actually has moving flames. So yeah, I was wondering, does the... There's some sort of timing involved here, some sort of execution, because you want to be able to not miss cycles on those flames. Does everything just sort of work out perfectly if you follow the instructions? Like, is everything right where you expect it?
You have to wait just a little bit for the first one for it to be in the middle of a cycle. There's no way to do the level without having some little bit of waiting to it. But once you get the first one, things kind of flow together. And if you get set behind, if you make a block in the wrong place, you move it or whatever, the cycle stays synced up. So if you need to wait a cycle for things to catch back up to where you need them to go, there's no problem at all with that.
Okay.
This is the only stage that's in this goal that has moving enemies. There are some later in the game that are much more difficult, but that's the only one in this that you need to worry about. So we're on to World 3. And World 3 is where they start to get a little bit complicated. So immediately in 3-1, you think, well, I want to push this block to the left and kill that flame, which you could do, but it's a little bit slow. Instead, you jump up to the right and create one to connect to that one. What that's going to do is stop the block that's above you from falling down if you delete the one on the far left, because it's being supported on the right side. So you're going to jump up and push the mobile block to the left. You're going to have to do this at some point. So then you delete that one on the left and then recreate it. Step to the left so the ice above you will fall down. And that leaves you a path that you can jump up and then push the block to the right to kill the final flame. This world is big on these type of blocks and falling mechanics. So 3-2. Pretty simply, you've got, you have to push a block to the left to create a platform you can jump up onto. And when you do that, you want to create 2 blocks to the right of that once you've jumped up on the platform. This will allow you a way to jump back up in just a moment. So then you will delete the one that you pushed over, so you have the one that's on the left that is mobile. Push it all the way to the left, and then delete the ice. And that'll drop down and kill the flame. Then you can jump back up on these that you just made. You could just make one, but it would put you all the way against the wall instead of this being in the middle. And then you create ice to the left side and jump up. I do that wrong. So here from this top spot, the first thing you want to do actually is jump down and delete that ice block. And then jump back up. That's going to be a little bit better than creating ice first and then deleting it. You can do it either way. So you want to create one to drop down by creating 2 to the left and then deleting the one on the right. And then you do another one. And on the second one, I stepped the wrong way, you just go ahead and stay on top of it so you can write it down. Create one to the right, one to the left, step to the left because we're facing that direction. And then turn around and delete the one in the middle.
Oh, I did them in the wrong order.
Yeah, if you do it in the wrong order, that's fine. It's a difference of 1 turnaround animation.
Yeah.
3-3 is... This may be the longest level. If not, it's one of the trickier ones on paper. I start out pushing the block to the left and then the one to the right. Normally you want to do that in the other order. In this case, it works out to be slightly better. So then you jump up to the right. That way you can turn around and fill in this hole to create a solid floor. Move your way to the left, create another one. And you've got the floor all the way across to deal with the flame on the right. What you do... And once that flame is dead, you come over here from the left and create another block that you can push over. And push all the way to the wall. So it leaves you in this spot. The game gives you a choice of whether you want to go up the right or the left. You can't actually go up the left side, you'll get stuck. So you have to go up the right. So you just create ice as necessary to make your way up. And then once you're standing next to that movable block at the top that's below the 2, you want to push it to the left and then turn around and create a block to the right. That'll give you a platform to stand on when this ice falls down so you don't get stuck. So then you move to the right, that ice falls, and you can jump up and create another ice block in the space where you just were, so you have a solid floor. And you have a couple of options for how exactly you handle this. My preference is to jump up on those 2 on the left, create one to the right, and step on top of it and delete the one on the left, jump down and push. There are a couple of different ways to do that. They all end up being about the same amount of time, so that's just the way that I go with. Then just hold right, and the rest of the stage beats itself.
Okay.
That one is really easy to forget to make an ice block somewhere or something like that. 3-4, again, is another stage. It's about your very first action. So the first thing you want to do is jump up to the left, turn around, and create a block to the right. It'll give you a means to then jump up to the left and then push a block down. So by doing that, you have yourself a platform that you can stand on when you jump down below. That way you don't just get stuck down there with nothing you can do about it. So you jump down. Now when you're standing on top of this ice block, you're then going to create 2 blocks to the right to let you jump up. You're going to deal with the top flame first and then the bottom. So we'll go up to the right and create 2 next to it to create a floor. And then again on the right, create a block so you can deal with that one. Then from this point, you have 2 options. You can go all the way to the left and jump down. You can create a block that you can end up dropping down on top of it, whatever you want to do. My preference is I'll delete this one on the left. That'll let me drop straight down. And then I just take a step to the left, delete left, right, and push. There are a few different ways to do that ending. That's just the one that I believe is the fastest. On to 3-5. 3-5 is one of the first really tricky levels if you've ever played this game blind or you've seen somebody play it blind. Because, again, the first couple of actions are really important, and this is, you get one opportunity to be able to do it. First thing you'll do is step to the right and create an ice block. You're going to need that one there later. Then you turn to the left, create a block to fill in the gap between this mobile block and the one that's stuck to the ledge, and then delete the one that's stuck to the ledge. This way you're jumping down the center, and you've got the right side sealed up for when we come to deal with this top flame. You'll see why momentarily. So then, jump down the hole, and kill this thing. And then create an ice block so you've got a solid floor, so you can then make one and push over the left wall. And just work your way up. Now from the top here, you're going to create these 2 ice blocks that I just made probably a few seconds ago on the stream. Then delete the one on the left so you have one just drop down. This is where that first ice block is really useful, because you have to jump down behind this one and push it to the right. That'll give you a platform you can jump onto right next to this flame. And you create the ones to the left so you can get back up here on the top, create another ice block, and just push it over. If you don't make that first one on the right, you don't have any way to deal with this flame on the right side. And once you've gone through once, there's no way for you to get to that and then get back up to the top. So 3-6 is just about order of operations. It's fairly clear what the game intends for you to do. So first action is just make a block. That'll freeze just below that flame so it won't drop down whenever you push the one that's beneath it. Then you jump down, take the only path you can, push this block all the way to the right. Then once you're standing on it, you create a block to the left so you can jump up, and you do basically the same thing on the other side. Get on this block that's basically next to the flame or on the same line as it, create a block so it doesn't fall. then delete the one on the left that you made so you can get back through and go back around. This is basically all to keep the flame frozen in place until you're able to deal with it. So then on the left side, you delete that first block that you made, work your way back to the right, and on this pass, when you're standing in this location and you're able to delete the ice block that's down below it, you want to delete it from the right side. That way when the flame drops down, it's going to have an ice block down beneath it as well. That'll drop down into that hole, and then the flame will be on the same level as that ice block that's against the wall on the right side. You can do it without that. You just have to walk over and either delete one or kick one, and it waits a few seconds to do. Then jump up and delete this one on the right to make him fall down. Delete it so you're free. And I'll go ahead and play through that one more time just because it's a rather specific order to do things.
I forgot to delete this one ice block that's here in the bottom, so I gotta do this again. Alright, perfect.
Yeah, it just runs you back and forth because that's your only way to do your thing is to run back and forth. I hope I actually deleted that in time. Alright. 3-7 again has one key ice block, and the rest of it speaks for itself. So immediately, if you look at the map, you notice that you have to deal with the top right flame. So I'm gonna do that by jumping up to the right, creating 2 blocks. So you have one next to it that's mobile, delete the one on the left and push, kill the flame. And then from that position where you push the ice block, you're going to turn to the left and then create an ice block down below. They leave you a convenient gap there that you're able to do that, and that'll make the rest of the level work out. So then you jump up, and while you're moving to the left, you're going to create an ice block because it's faster than jumping down and then back up above that one that's mobile.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this one little gap you want to fill it in instead of falling down and climbing up the other side. Got it.
And what'll happen then is as you go all the way to the left and then jump down and push that block to the right, it's going to position the ice block that you push right above that leftmost flame, rather than falling down and leaving you stuck with no way to deal with it. So once you push it to the right, you just delete that block, and it falls on top of the flame, and then you just hold right.
I see. So the real trick to that level is just creating that one ice block in the gap at the beginning. It's really the secret to it. Okay.
Alright. 3-8 is similar to the other one whose number I can't remember because I was playing in sequence. 3, one of the other ones. Anyway, the one where you had to do all the jumping up and pushing things around, whatever. So you're going to move a block to the left and create an ice block. It's going to give you one solid ice sheet. That'll allow you to delete the one second from the right to drop an ice block down with you standing on top of it. And that'll give you a way to push it to the left and climb all the way to the top of the stage. So you just then push that to the left and work your way up. If you didn't create that one to the left at the start, this would then be a single ice block and you push it over instead of being able to jump up on it. So, up. And then from the top, it's fairly simple. Create 2 blocks. And then you want to stand on this one as you drop it down, just because it's slightly faster than doing it like the other methods. And push the right into it. Then you just delete this one in the middle on the row of the 2 flames and 3 ice blocks. That gives you 2 blocks you can work with. You can jump down and push one to the left, the other to the right. That's another one that kind of is just about that one key block at the very beginning. And once you've got that in place, the rest of it works itself out. So 3-9 is a very simple level, but one that is very specific in its order. What we have to do is get to the bottom right-hand corner, and we've got some stuff in the way. We need to leave this ice block that's to the left of us exactly where it is. So you're going to start out, the first thing you do is create a block to the right, step onto it, and delete the one to the left. This is going to give you a way that you can drop down then, turn to the right, deletes. Then you jump back up and reverse the process. So you jump up on this one on the right, create one to the left, then delete the one on the right. That'll give you a path all the way down to the bottom. So you just drop down that and then push into it. Meaning right, left, left, and push.
Pretty simple. All about just getting yourself to the lower right.
Yeah, it's about it's a useful technique in some of the later levels to know how to work your way through a series like that, because they use that type of thing a few different times in less obvious ways. So the game is still kind of in tutorial stages at this point. All right, so 310 is an auto scroller. Hooray! No matter what you do, you will have to wait for enough of the screen to scroll to be able to finish it. But this again, fire is coming up from the bottom, just like it was in 110. You can't deal with the flame on the right, so we're going to worry about the one on the left. You're going to move to the left, drop down, and then create 2 blocks to the right so you can drop one on top of it. Pretty simple. And then you have to climb up the left side and just wait for the screen to scroll enough that you can get above it. So you end up in this spot, and then you're holding right, and you can't get through, so it's time for a little dancing. You have to wait for the screen to scroll far enough to be able to jump down. And then once you can jump down, you end up in this spot. You drop off, then you jump up, create an ice block to the left, then jump up to the right and create 2 so you can push down on top of it. And as you can see, I haven't really mentioned it. When I press start to bring up that menu of try again or new game, that pauses everything that's going on, including enemy movement and the scrolling of the screen and things like that. So if you temporarily can't remember what to do in one of those levels, you can pause and take a look at it again. Then you get a fancy cutscene that we don't care about, and that's it. That's the goal.
Nice. So yeah, I mentioned timing is going to end as soon as the character control's over, so I guess as soon as you hit that last flame, you'll do your victory animation, and then it's on to the next game.
Really,
Yeah.
like as soon as you push that block, you lose character control because you can't actually move while it's in motion.
Oh, really?
I would, just for the sake of completion, I'll probably wait for the flame to be destroyed, but, Alright. Yeah, so that's the goal. That's kind of the overly elaborate explanation of the goal. So I think what we'll do now is just go back to the beginning, run through it once in motion. That way, if you just need the video for reference and you want to see, like, you want to be able to pull up a specific stage, how exactly is that done, all that kind of stuff. Okay. And we'll see how many times I can screw it up.
All right. So, Infinite Mystery, do you have any levels that you do something different than what Everhate described?
Probably 210 is my worst level.
Yeah, there are a bunch of different ways to do 210. The strat that I use is one that PLD had in his video, and that ended up being about 2 seconds faster than the other strat that I was using. Because PLD also has a video on the speedrun.com listing for the race. This guy, he does a few things a little bit differently, some of them a little bit slower, but that one was better. So I just kind of took like the combination of what I was doing and he was doing and put it together.
Okay.
Alright. So, let's see. Kind of do a run through and see what happens. When I'm on the overworld, I'm basically mashing A to get the first possible way to get into the level. And then there's kind of a timing on the cutscenes for when you want to press start. You can mash it also, but the stage will load and then you'll pause. It doesn't really matter too much. But this should be about a 12-minute goal if everything goes well. Anything below about 12:30 is completely fine just by knowing the room solutions. And because there's no randomness, no variance, it'll be fairly easy to get this learned and move on to something else. step 1-7. I'm kind of cautious on 1-7 because for some reason I will occasionally drop an input here. So I'm really careful when walking over that I don't end up dropping down and costing myself like 10 seconds.
What are the
I
big...
think that's probably just because of the emulator, but...
I see. There are, I assume, big mistakes that you can make that would be bad, but it's mostly just probably leaving yourself in a position where you've, moved the wrong block or something like that, and now you have to restart the level. Is that, like, something that happens from time to time?
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay.
It's, generally speaking, you're not going to lose more than about 10 seconds most of the time for a mistake, because most of the levels are, like 10 to 15 seconds long. There are some that are a little bit longer, but short of, like, somehow dying on the auto-scroller at the end, most of the mistakes are not very costly. As long as you recognize it and either can recover from it or restart. It's one of those games I'm surprised there hasn't been somebody try to put together a good run of. Because there is the task. I haven't checked to see if all the solutions are optimal, but really, like, once you have determined the fastest solutions, it's pretty simple to just execute throughout the entire game. It's a fairly long run, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty long run. There's a lot of levels to this, and I guess, though, it does seem like anything that the task could do, you should be able to do, right? Because you can buffer all of your inputs.
Right.
And so unless there's like some left plus right glitches or something like that, which I don't think there is, it's all pretty much copy the tasks.
Yeah, the only times be like either if the task doesn't have the optimal solution, which is certainly possible because it's somebody decided those are the ones, or like the levels with moving enemies. There may be a couple of those where the timing is really tight and you have to lose a cycle or something.
I see.
Like there's one later on where I think the task strat may not be doable, but I can't remember the level number. It's a bunch of enemies moving up and down and they're immune to ice dropped on top of them. I'm doing this all kinds of wrong. I really like to mess up 2-4 for some reason. But it's like these first 3 worlds are about 12 minutes. A full 10 world run, not including the bonus stages, would be like an hour plus, 103, 105, somewhere in that range. So the solutions definitely get much more complicated as you go through. Really fun game though for anybody who's never played it.
It's a game I believe everybody should play at least once.
I agree.
Yeah, it's in terms of accessibility, I think this is probably the best puzzle game on the NES. As far as best overall, it would be close between this and Solomon's Key, but Solomon's Key is a much more difficult game.
Yeah, Solomon's Key is, I mean, it is a puzzle platformer, but it's almost like more of a action game than this is.
Yeah. It definitely is really tight execution.
Right, yeah, the hard part about the game is not even just solving the puzzles, though there are some difficult puzzles, but it's like dodging the massive enemies that they throw up against you.
dropping the input on 210. Pretty good.
Oops. Have to restart that.
Yeah. It cost 2 or 3 seconds because I dropped the right input before I deleted the block, so just immediately restart the stage.
It's nice that there's a fast restart, though.
Yeah, and it loads quickly as well, so it's... Yeah, making a mistake is just a matter of realizing that you've made a mistake and then restarting. Or, you know, in some of the levels, just knowing whether it's faster to restart or fix your mistake. Three. That's the one.
3-3.
Yeah. That's one of the more elaborate stages, and the one where I always mess up something. Most of the time you can fix it without too much issue, but there are a couple places where if you make a mistake, you just have to restart it.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you what are the trouble levels, but yeah, I imagine that that's a different thing if you're going for world record versus just a race.
Yeah, and it's also going to be different for different people. Like some of the levels are going to click with some people and not with others.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these levels, even if I forget what to do, I can sort of just figure it out from context, but it's definitely I can see how the optimal route is faster than, you know, just the solution that you would come up with off the top of your head if you didn't know anything about the level. So yeah, it definitely pays to watch, you know, one of these optimized runs and really see the best of the multiple solutions. Is there lag in this game at all?
Not from what I've seen, no.
Nothing that
There's not
stands
any
out?
that I've noticed.
Okay. I mean,
At least not goal wise for this level. There is one extra stage once you finish the game. You'll probably see any sort of lag, but that's only because there's like 100 blocks falling.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of the later levels you might get a little bit. It's a little bit difficult to tell sometimes if it's lag or if just things are frozen because that's, you know, there's things happening. And the final boss fight always feels kind of laggy to me, even though it's probably not. It's just that motion is paused as things are happening. I should get around to routing the rest of this game. I only have routed up through World 5. But some of the later ones are... Some of the later levels have multiple different solutions to the extent that it's kind of difficult to figure out which way you want to go. Or even if you're completely missing another way to do the puzzle.
I know every time I've seen a familiar puzzle I've done before, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I've done this before, but what exactly did I do?
Yeah.
Some of the black ice ones and some of the tube levels especially.
Yeah, I guess we're fortunate that for this race we're only doing the first 3 levels, so you don't even get to see the full extent of the game's enemies and mechanics and stuff. It's all just
Yeah.
ice blocks and flames. That's really the only thing.
Yeah, you do get different music and different flame graphics for each world, which is kind of nice.
I'm just gonna watch Infinite finish the rest of these. I should have had a race between you two. Spice it up a bit.
You could have.
I could have, but
Yeah. You could do a race, I guess. I don't know. It's just kind of weird as a racing game when
Yeah.
it's standalone. It's like, well, there's not really anything to this, so
that's right. If I can do this whole thing without missing one of my inputs, then I guess I win.
Exactly.
Do you guys ever race this?
It's hard to find people to race this particular game.
yeah,
That's-
very few people. Like I know Infinite Mystery had dropped by and talked about wanting to route it at one point. Like you don't ever see people playing it though, because I don't think anybody's taken on actually routing the whole game, given its length.
And then PLD came along, and I think he said he studied the game for about 2 days.
Does he currently have the record?
Yes. Or at least his U.S. time is closest to the task as he'll push it at the moment.
Yeah. Because, I mean, theoretically, you could match or at least get very close to the task, but it's. Yeah. You're going to lose frames on things like level selection and cutscene skips and stuff like that, but for the most part, you can get pretty close.
Yeah, I guess if you can buffer your inputs, that really helps. Because it is interesting. It may not be obvious by watching, but it's like the movement is discretized. You're either standing on this square or you're standing on the one next to it. There's no in between. Once you press
Right.
the direction pad to move, you'll move, and you can just let go of the D-pad, and you'll keep walking until you land on that next square. So. And when you're walking up onto, jumping up onto the next tile, it's like all one action. It's all kind of scripted. You can't change what you're doing once it's initiated. So it's, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how, as long as you don't forget what you're supposed to do, you just be careful to keep buffering your next inputs, and you should get optimal times.
Yeah. The hardest thing would probably be remembering all the levels in sequence, so you can be buffering your first action as you're loading into a level.
Yes, that's definitely a thing, because there's no clear connection between what level I'm on now and what's the next level going to look like. So I don't know of any way that I could memorize what's going to be the next thing coming up based on what I'm looking at now. So it's just I had this problem when I was running Adventures of Lolo, and I ended up just making a cheat sheet for myself, just of what the first direction I'm going to hold in each level is. And so for each of them, it would just, what the first direction is. And during that time, I can, that 1 second that it takes you to actually move, you can figure out what level it's supposed to be and take it from there. But the initial direction, yeah, you can immediately start out by doing an action as soon as the screen fades in, if you know what to expect. And that adds up. If it takes you, 1 second after the screen fades in to remember what your, to see what level it is and remember what your plan is supposed to be, that's going to add up to 30 seconds over the course of the whole run. So,
Yeah.
definitely.
It is mitigated a little bit because the level loads before Dana does, so you get just a little bit of a splash out before you actually have control.
Mhm.
So it's not quite as tough in this game as it would be in some others, but it's
Yeah, you
that
still
would be
have to.
the challenge for me. just remembering them all.
Right, yeah, you still have to be, ready so that when you see that fade in, you sort of acquire your route immediately. Okay, and yeah, here's some mechanics that we won't have to deal with in this goal, but those pipes, Mario type pipes, where you go in one side and come out the other.
Yeah, for as much as it's effectively a one-button game, it's pretty impressive how much can be done with it. Some of the later stage design is really interesting.
Huh. Yep. So I definitely recommend this game. If you like NES puzzle games, this is one of the must-play games. Cool. Well, thanks for doing this tutorial. I appreciate you walking us through it.
Yeah. Like I said, it should be one of the easier ones to learn. Because really it's just, find the solutions and do the solutions. You don't have to worry about, well, what happens if I get this pattern? Or, do I need to play it safe if I'm low on health here? When you have one hit point, it makes it real easy.
Yeah, that's true. No safety strats. That is a nice thing about this. And there were a few non-obvious things. Like I wouldn't have thought of this idea of not wanting to crouch down, like not losing time crouching down to go through one gap tiles. So there's definitely a couple places where you could walk either way. Like you have two options, but one of them involves an extra ducking and then unducking animation. So obviously, avoiding that. Stuff like not turning around if you don't have to. There's a few places where the direction that you're already facing determines what part of the level you do next, in places where you could do it in either order. So just paying attention to minor stuff like that is a good idea.
7-3 scares me.
7-3, yeah, that's a lot of ice. Yeah.
Which one is 7-3?
Yeah, it's lots of big slabs of
that
ice.
I think everybody should be
there are like
practicing
100 different
every
ways to
time
do that level.
Oh yeah, lots of different options.
A bunch of sequences work and a bunch more get you completely stuck. That level it's something.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think we mentioned the only other thing was cancel out of the cutscenes by pressing start. It's a cutscene before and after each of these level 10 fights, or stage 10 fights. Let's see. I guess that's about it.
Yeah. And there's the video that PLD made. If people just need it for reference, or the run we just did, or I've got a highlight on my channel of it. Like there are references for if you forget a solution or something like that.
Yeah, and I suppose that it may even be to your benefit to have that video available during the race, just in case you forget something. If you draw a blank, it may be faster to just zip to that spot in the video and watch it than to retry the level several times. But yeah, hopefully that won't be an issue, because it's only 10 levels to memorize, and this is definitely the goal. This whole purpose of this goal is memorization. It's all just, how well can you remember the solution to 30 puzzles.
And 210 will probably be the worst puzzle out of all 30 of them.
210?
With the moving targets.
Yeah, that's the side-to-side moving flames that you have to hit. Yep. Yeah, like I said, when I did that one, my blind playthrough of it, I did something way more complicated. Like what you guys do, you're making like 4 moves and that's about it. But yeah, you could make it way more complicated than that. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining for this tutorial. Tune in. Stay tuned for what tutorials we're going to do next. We still have another 10 games to go, I think. I think this is the 10th game we've done. So, got 10 more to go. Check that crawl that's going by there for the various things to follow. Best of Ness on Twitter for announcements about the race. And you can also follow Speed Gaming Show on Twitter for tweets about when we're doing these tutorials and other events. And don't forget to watch the race itself on May 2nd at twitch.tv/bestofness. And of course, if anybody knows anything about the games that we haven't done tutorials for yet and wants to help me make one of these for one of the remaining games, please get in touch with me. If you have any other kind of resources or helpful things for any of the games in the list, you can also send that information to me and I can link to it from the resources page. thebestofness.com/big20/resources has a list of all those resources and these tutorials all collected in one place. So that's it. Thanks for showing up. See you guys next time.